Hello, my name is Jerron Vale from the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. Our equity project began a little over a year ago with a vision for addressing inequities and educational disparities for Missouri citizens. The department's desire is to build a careful process for addressing inequities and show our commitment toward equitable outcomes for all Missourians aligned with our vision to empower every Missourian with the skills and education needed for success. The Building Bridges series is an informative look at how Missouri's colleges, universities, and community organizations are addressing equity. We hope you learn from these shared experiences, and thank you again for joining us.
All right, well, we better get this party started. It's so nice to see everyone and visit with everyone. Welcome to Bridges to Success. My name is Sarah Sammons, and I'm a senior research analyst here with the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. And I am so excited today to bring to you a presentation by the Debruce Foundation and the University of Missouri-Kansas City called Using Agilities to Explore Careers and Expand Opportunity. So before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. So all attendees have been muted upon entry. So please do not unmute yourself, although we already broke that rule, so it's okay. But we would have this whole conversation with. This presentation will be presented live and panelists will be available for questions at the end, but I know that they're very interactive. So, that might also be a little bit in play, but that's all right. We like new and spontaneous and fun things. Please use the chat feature to ask questions and feel free to share your experiences with re-engaging adult learners. Or with anything else that you might want to talk with Debruce Foundation and UMKC about. And this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on our webpage. All right, so I have the pleasure of introducing, let me stop sharing here for a second, our panelists today. So we have Leigh Taylor Knight, the Executive Director of the Debruce Foundation, Ann Zimmerman, Special Project Consultant for the Debruce Foundation. And then from the University of Missouri-Kansas City, we have Megan Elsen, Academic Success Coordinator and Coordinator of the Summer Bridge Scholar Program, Susi Krulewich, Director of the UMKC Peer Academic Leadership Program, and Jada Pittman, a freshman student studying music therapy from Florissant. So welcome everyone.
Thank you, Sarah. We're all so excited to be here today with you. And, we're saving the best for last. We'll have that student and Jada is fantastic. So again, it's fun to see familiar faces even on the Zoom at this point in time. And it's really our privilege to be with you today. So I think each of us will introduce ourselves as we go. Again, I'm Leigh Taylor Knight with the Debruce Foundation. So there'll probably be a slide that comes up here pretty soon that recognizes we are located here in the Kansas City region. However, we are a national foundation that is dedicated to expanding pathways to economic growth and opportunity. So as we think about that, we had this wonderful opportunity to actually partner with our friends at UMKC, and we're just so excited to share what we're learning with them today and then seeing how we can partner with some of the rest of you across the state. So the first thing that we have a question, yes, as was mentioned, we are very interested in getting you interacting in the chat. So thanks for all of you who've already put your name and information in the chat. But right now we want you to throw into the chat, can you predict the percent of youth who consider 2 or fewer careers? We just did a study of youth ages 16 to 24. And we know the answer to this from a national study. And you're probably wondering, well, like, why are they thinking about that? Well, we're going to talk a little bit today about why it's important to focus on skills. This first stat is something that every single one of you out there in higher education and workforce development already know. And that's that in the US, our college dropout rate is between 40 to 60%. Now, that manifests itself into meaning, it's like you ask yourself, well, why are so many people dropping out? And there are 4 great big reasons. I know that you guys could name those in the chat if I ask you to, but the one that we're going to focus on today and the one that we at the foundation care about is this issue around so many students who drop out of college because they have this lack of career direction. That's one of the top reasons for dropping out. And that's where that first question that we ask you comes in. Because at the age of 14 and it's still at 24, if we have 2/3 of our youth who are considering 2 or fewer careers, we're really setting them up to just leave a lot to chance when it comes to this. So we think that it is super important to move people from being uninformed career decision makers to informed career decision makers. So when we got after, like, how are we going to solve for that as the world continues to change, we decided at the Debruce Foundation to begin to think about what it took to help a person be an informed career decision maker. And as we did research across the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we found that there are 10 work activities that are in every single job in the economy. Now, they're not going to be a surprise to you guys. When you think about what do you do well and what do you like to do, these are work activities like developing others, serving and caring, organizing, managing. And you know that we were doing those kinds of work activities 20 years ago and 200 years ago. It was just with different technologies. So as we go into the future, for individuals, it's super important for them to gain confidence and begin to understand better about what they do well and what they like to do. So that's how we developed the Agile Work Profiler. Many of you, I see many of you on this screen. I know you've actually taken the Agile Work Profiler. If you haven't, we invite you to go to agilities.org and take it. It only takes 10 minutes and it is free to the public. This is a part of our charitable mission. And what it will help you do is discover your ranked agility list today. It is research based and it has been tested. And again, our market research shows that this is the perfect way to help people be affirmed in what they do well, be made aware of things that they do well and things that they can grow and develop, as well as activate in their careers. There's real science behind this, and it's today's science. So it is an evergreen tool that we can continue to analyze the US Bureau of Labor Statistics data on jobs, over 1,000 jobs in there. And that actually led us again to this big picture of what we call the agilities, 10 work activities used in every single job, just in differing amounts. And you can learn any of them. And there's some that you like to do better than others. And we find that to be very encouraging. And that's exactly what our market research says, is it feels different than other assessments that might be out there. Now you might be asking, well, why is it important to be agile, or what are these agilities all about? Well, when you become more agile, then it's because you're in the space of you can actually develop all of your agilities. So we know that being agile is a result of continuing to develop. And you all know that it's all about the experiences and the exposures that you give to students across the lifespan. It doesn't matter at what age they come to you, across the lifespan, that actually help them gain those skills, get better at things, and be more flexible in their work environment. And then again, if we thought about it today, if I ask you to rank, hey, how well were you at organizing 10 years ago, would it be a different answer than it is today? Are there jobs that have poured into you to help you grow and develop certain agilities? And there most certainly are. So, and I think that's where, again, what are those advantages of the AWP? We have a couple of 3 slides here that we're not going to take time on because I totally want you guys to meet Jada, our student, and see some of our fantastic videos with other students in them, and hear from our UMKC friends. But there is a chart here of the advantages of the AWP. One of the biggest ones, it's shorter than most other career assessments. It is about expanding those number of careers that people will look at rather than matching them. And remember, that was one of the big stats that I said at the beginning. And the other piece is that it was developed in 2018. It is evergreen. We're continuing to work with it and make it better. And it's based on actual work activities in comparison to a lot of tools that are based on personalities and what you prefer to do and expectations of jobs, many of which were built on theories that are from the 1920s when there were about 122 jobs in the economy, and were revised across the 40s and the 60s and into the first part of this century. The other tools that you probably are using with your students are things like Myers-Briggs, Strengths Finder, maybe OAD is used a lot. So we have a quick chart in here for you to just see how the Agile Work Profiler is different. And what we like to say is the career assessments that you're using, these leadership assessments that you're using, we would like to say use those and also use the AWP because it only takes 10 minutes and it just kind of helps fill out, again, in the space of work activities, helping people know what they can grow and develop. What is the value of Agilities, you may be asking? Well, this is all about, and you can think about the journey that students take with you across their lifetime, but it's about developing skills for the future. How many of you want to develop skills for the future of your students? Of course you do. It's about helping them be more confident. We've been working with 10 colleges and universities across Kansas and Missouri just in the last few weeks, and they've talked a lot about students just not having the confidence when they're there to do well. You'll hear a little bit more about that today. It's about helping students see skills and how they can transfer them into different environments, and it's also giving work language to work opportunities with individuals who are trying to upgrade their resumes, upgrade their LinkedIn profiles, and upgrade things for interviewing. So the value is there for Agilities. The other thing that we count as a value in our suite of free tools for you to be able to use are these other tool sets that, again, you'll find at agilities.org. And we don't have time to introduce all of them today, but we do have an Agilities tour where you can come to a virtual lunch with us, and you'll get to go a little bit deeper with each one of these around Occupational Explorer, Opportunity Explorer, where you're trying to help people understand what's available in the career marketplace, what am I going to get paid to do that, and how do I have to get trained. In fact, some of you who are at universities and colleges in Missouri will actually see your university and college in those education tools, in that education suite. So again, our driving principles behind the Agilities are listed here on this slide. But when you think about wanting to serve those who you work with, if you want to diversify the opportunities that they can consider now and in their future, and if you want to help them in making career choices, and you want for them to be able to think about all the occupational options that are out there, then we are so excited to be able to introduce to you today the way UMKC, our partner here in Kansas City, has used the Agilities to do just that on their student journeys with students who are transitioning. And again, you're going to get to hear from Jada and some others. And I think you're going to talk a little bit about that model starting too.
Exactly. And so, so I'm Ann Zimmerman and delighted to work with the Debruce Foundation doing some special project work. And just to kind of step back a little bit and think about how does this fit within this broader context of just a way to approach career development. This idea of agility advantage. And we describe agility advantage as having these three elements. One, the growth mindset that helps somebody think and understand that I have value, I have choice, I can learn. And then link that with their skill mastery. So that's a variety of tools that might be technical tools, but it's also a lot of these agilities that we're talking about today and essential skills, all those skills that you need to actually do the job and keep the job. And then the last sphere is this idea of market knowledge. And while we're not talking about the Career Explorer tools today, they really do help a student do a deeper dive in understanding what occupations align with my skills and interests. What does that look like in real life? And then what are the opportunities in Kansas City and how do I get there? So it's that full spectrum of, as Leanne mentioned earlier, how do we move from somebody who's an uninformed career decision maker to an informed career decision maker? So just in terms of the higher education landscape, as you've been listening, I hope that you're sort of thinking about how these might connect. I know when we met with Megan for the first time, she was sort of making all of these internal connections about how it would really augment the work she was doing. And so thinking about this life cycle of a student and just from the very beginning and how they transition to college, there are lots of opportunities to integrate this framework of thinking about your skills and what you bring to the marketplace. So summer bridge programs. I'm sure many of you are involved with some sort of freshman orientation or experience. Peer mentoring programs are so powerful in that first year or two of a person's experience. And integrating the agilities at this point really gives, it's all about self-awareness. How do I understand what am I good at and what do I like to do? And start that career exploration. Moving into their sophomore year, it's a lot of leadership programs are very good at really kind of enhancing this idea of how do you develop as a person and what are you interested in doing. So lots of opportunities to integrate the agilities with leadership programs, course integration. Susi's going to talk about that more specifically, but peer mentoring, faculty mentoring, and just advising, having this common language for people to really talk about skills, and more than anything, building their confidence by affirming that value. And then this scariest part of all, which is just preparing for the workforce. And so a lot of the work of our career services programs, where they're really helping somebody get ready for an interview, prepare their resume, and create a resume that actually can reflect the skills that they've learned in their high school and college experiences or an internship. So really thinking about how all of that comes together so that we ultimately activate them to take the next step. And we were just delighted over the summer to have a wonderful partnership with UMKC as they were looking to they've been doing this summer bridge program for a while and been very adaptable to the changing environment. But how do we actually integrate the agilities into what they were already doing so we could help them meet their goals of that summer bridge program? So before I introduce Megan, we have a little short video that just keys up that wonderful partnership.
We at the Debruce Foundation are committed to expanding pathways to economic growth and opportunity. Like you at colleges and universities, we are deeply invested in helping students be aware of and affirm what they do well and what they like to do in terms of their career. That's why we came up with the Agilities. And we're looking forward to partnering with you in order to help students transition, activate into the career marketplace of today and the future.
Every university at the heart, they're learning institutions, and they want every student who walks in those doors to be successful. And to be successful does require that folks really understand themselves. The Agilities is an absolutely wonderful way to help students understand that, help them map out their future.
Before the Agilities, we went to a lot of different resources and we tried to connect our students to, here's some of your strengths, but here's your personality and here's how you can find different careers. And it was really navigating a lot of different platforms. And so when we were brought to look at the Agilities, it was almost this is perfect, this is exactly what we needed.
I didn't need to rewrite my course or change my learning outcomes in order to incorporate Agilities into the program. Instead, I looked at what I already hoped to accomplish and found ways that Agilities could supplement that or enhance that. It gave terminology and a vocabulary that celebrates the strengths that you have and what can you do to build on that, to capitalize on your unique assets as a student and an individual.
I think it's a good thing to take them from that uninformed career decision maker to an informed career decision maker. The kids using the Occupation Explorer take their top agility and search for careers around that agility. And so I would immediately be able to connect that to maybe a college major.
Before knowing my top 3 agilities, I was a little lost just because I didn't know how to put my abilities to the best use. But once I took the test, it was really good because I got to be more confident and realize this is where I belong.
I believe having this experience, I gained more confidence. I feel like I speak highly of myself way more than I used to.
It was through being able to explore the Agilities and the different tools that I think got them to verbalize, why is that skill important? How can you actually leverage that agility into this position that we're offering for you? I think they feel 10 times more confident walking into a large skyrise and engaging with the top CEOs of companies, which they thought they could never do.
This has been a wonderful partnership, and the fact that the Debruce Foundation offers these amazing tools at no cost. And it's not just the tools, it's the people, the energy, the camaraderie. I think it's just amazing, and I think it's something that every university would want to be a part of.
Okay, so now I'm going to introduce the stars of the video, Megan and Susie and Jada. I'll turn it over.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anne. I'm going to get my screen shared very quickly. Alrighty. Okay, so my name is Megan Elsen. I'm the program coordinator of the Summer Bridge Scholars Program here at UMKC. I am honored to have my colleague with me here today, Susi Krulewich, and I also have my previous Summer Bridge scholar, Jada Pittman, with me as well. I'm so excited to be able to share with you all of the things that UMKC Summer Bridge Scholars Program has been able to do and how we've been able to integrate the Agilities into our program this past summer. The UMKC Summer Bridge Scholars Program at UMKC provides an academically rigorous experience for incoming first-year college students. This is an 8-week program for provisionally admitted students. And so they actually have the opportunity to earn college credit. And we offer programming around academic skill building, as well as introducing them to campus and the Kansas City community. So our program goals are listed out below. We essentially want to build up their academic readiness so that their first semester at UMKC in the fall is really successful. We also want to help them understand what their strengths and talents are. Before the Agilities, we did that by piecing together different tools. And that's why I said in that video, I felt like this was the perfect partnership because we were able to meet one of our program goals through just using one tool. We also want our scholars to be connected with each other, with the campus and the community. And then finally, we do some partnership with our campus partners around diversity and inclusion. We partner with the Multicultural Student Affairs Office to make sure that we're preparing our students to come onto a campus that is extremely diverse and inclusive, and they're prepared for that type of setting. So here is some of our demographics. We have been a program since 2014 at UMKC. We've served 188 students. We primarily see female participants. So we had about 61% females. And then in regards to ethnicity, we have a higher population of Black or African American students. White and Latino are pretty close, and we have a smaller population of our Asian community as well. First generation college students, 51%. I believe that this is actually higher. We recently updated our application at the University of Missouri, Kansas City to include language that allows students to really understand what a first generation college student is, rather than just asking, are you first generation? So I think that our data around first generation college student is likely higher than that. And then our Summer Bridge scholars, 86% of them are Pell eligible, and a large majority of them are high financial need. So through the years that I have been here, I joined the team in 2019, and we have tried 3 different modalities of Summer Bridge scholars. From 2014 to 2019, it was a fully in-person campus experience. So the scholars would enroll in 8-week courses. They would move onto campus from day 1, and they would engage in coursework and programming during that time. In 2020, we had COVID, and so we went fully virtual. We did all of our programming, including our coursework, was online, and students would be in courses during certain days, and then they would switch out and do programming with us during the times they weren't in class. Which brings me to this past year. We actually found that the online programming had some opportunities behind it, and we like to be able to transition students quickly in between asynchronous, synchronous, large group, small group. And so what we did was we decided to create this hybrid model where the first 3 weeks of the program were hosted online, and then they transitioned to college at week 5. They did not enroll in their courses until week 5. So any of you that have been in an expedited course know that enrolling provisionally admitted students into a 5-week course is kind of scary, but you'll see later that they completely excelled in this. There were definitely advantages and disadvantages to each of these modalities, but what we found was that the hybrid version worked really well for us in our program. And so that's what we're proposing moving forward with our program. So here is an example. Off to the right, you will see what a typical Monday would look like in the online or the hybrid version. So this would be maybe week 2. So they would check in with us on an app called Discord, and then they'd meet with a small group. So them and some peer mentors would come together and engage in different topics about, how scary it is to transition to college and how they can actually transition more smoothly when they get here. We would do technology tutorials. You'll see here that they had a 3-hour workshop with our multicultural student center. And we have, in addition to this, we also do a lot of career exploration, professional development, team building, mentorship, civic engagement. We do a lot of campus navigation activities as well. So once they complete the online 3-week portion of the program, they do have to engage in 90% of that programming. And the reason is we typically will see that the students that don't persist in our program have significantly lower engagement than those that do successfully complete it. So we usually see that within the first week. And if they're not engaged in the program, then enrolling them in courses is probably not going to be something that's beneficial for them. So once they move on to campus, we enroll them in 2 5-week courses, which I'll be able to share a little bit more about one of those courses that Susi will present on soon. The other course from this year was a political science course. So it was a requirement for all of our UMKC students, and it meets one of the degree requirements for all of them. So now I come to this beautiful partnership that was developed over the past year. Integrating the Agilities was very easy for us. We already had a pretty well-established program, and all of the program components of Summer Bridge Scholars fit. We could just easily plug in, let's use Agilities language here. Let's actually create this workshop and tailor it to use the Agilities within it. So I want to speak to anyone that has a program or is considering integrating the Agilities into it. This is an 8-week program, very intensive. It does not have to look the way that we're presenting it here. You can take bits and pieces of what you think might work for your program. But this is kind of a big, if you want to go all in, this is kind of an outline of how we were able to do that in our program. So I will take the next few slides and I'll go through weeks 1 through 4, and then I'll turn it over to Susi, who will help us talk through what an actual course integration with the Agilities looks like. And then we get to end with our superstar Jada talking through Draw Your Future with Agilities and professional networking. All right, so in week 1 of our program, typically, we would have team building activities. We would help the scholars get to know their peers, one another. And so it made perfect sense for us to be able to do this introduction to the Agilities. We want the scholars to really understand themselves better. And traditionally, we would use one of those assessment tools that Leanne highlighted. We would use StrengthsQuest and get them to know their personality a little more. But it always felt like there was a missing piece there. A what next after we do this assessment tool? There weren't really a lot of activities that we had built around that. And so I was lucky enough to partner with Debruce, and they helped me create some activities that could reinforce this assessment tool. So during week 1, they sat in a super engaging webinar where they were introduced to the Agilities. They took the actual assessment, and then they were able to come and meet in small groups with peer mentors taking the lead on that. And they broke out and they got to talk about this little graphic right here is it's a Google form that they were filling out, and they were figuring out, how do I actually use these Agilities while I'm in college? And then how can I actually take those Agilities and use them to do even better this first semester of college? So they broke that down into an activity. They fully enjoyed it. They couldn't wait to do more Debruce activities. And so the next week, we actually then introduced some asynchronous opportunities. So I really liked these asynchronous activities because it allowed them to process at their own speed. And they were able to spend as much or as little time as they wanted navigating each of these activities. So the Occupational Explorer, you saw a little bit in the video, but essentially they were taking their top agilities and they were able to see what specific careers are out there, what are those job descriptions, what's the education that's needed for that. And then what my students liked the best was it actually listed the salary. And so they were able to really see like, oh, this career I was considering, I thought it was way lower than that, and maybe I will explore it. But it also opened their eyes up to things that they had never thought about, careers they could explore that fit really well with their top agilities. So then they continued the next day and they had the job decoder activity, and they were able to identify what are those top jobs that I'm looking at. And they looked at what are the agilities that are related to that top job. And if they did not match, we challenged our scholars to reflect on how they might be able to build up those agilities that they say are the top agilities for that career in order to get to a place that they feel like this actually is perfect for me. I've built those agilities up. I'm a good fit for this position. And then the final asynchronous activity was called Pitch Your Agilities, where they were able to explore how they could activate those top agilities using specific school-related scenarios. And they were real life to, you know, running into someone in the dorm and this happening, or a teacher saying something to you. And you'll see here, one of our Summer Bridge scholars, Khalil, we used the platform Flipgrid and they recorded themselves. So it also helped them practice their public speaking skills in this activity. All right. And then typically we will always do a resume workshop with our scholars. This year, all we had to do was ask Career Services to come alongside of us and learn the Debruce Agilities. And then they integrated that language into our workshop that we would traditionally do asynchronously with our students. So our Career Services are very familiar with the agilities. They were then able to review our scholars' resumes and provide them with feedback on how to actually use the language of the agilities to help sell themselves. All right. And now I'm going to turn it over to Susie, where she will talk about our 1 credit hour course that we provided to our Summer Bridge scholars this summer. And I will stop my share so that Susie can engage with the group.
All right, thank you, Megan. So my name is Susi Krulewich. I also work at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. My primary role is that I lead a peer mentor and peer leadership program. But for the context of today's conversation, I'm going to talk to you all about a class that I've taught for our school quite a few times. It's called Univ 100. It's an academic development course targeted at incoming students to help them build those foundational skills that they need in order to be successful as they enter college. We all know that college isn't necessarily harder, but it's different. So helping them develop the skills they need to navigate that different environment. So I've taught that class a bunch of times, but this past summer was the first time that I had the opportunity to incorporate the Debruce Foundation's Agile Work Profiler into the course. And that was a really rewarding experience for me as an instructor. And I received really good feedback on that from my students as well. Before I dive into some of the things that I did in the course, I want to talk a little bit about the learning outcomes of my course, because these are things that were pre-established, reviewed by our faculty and curriculum committee, and things that held true, even though the shape of the course was adjusted and some of the assignments were adjusted by bringing in the Debruce agilities. So through Univ 100, students will improve their thinking, their problem solving, and their decision-making skills. We work with them to identify and practice academic strategies to improve their performance in all courses, so not just the one they're enrolled in with me, but all of their courses. And we push them to demonstrate the growth and the critical thinking process. There's a whole bunch of other outcomes, but I wanted to highlight those because I didn't have to change any of those in order to incorporate the Agile Work Profile and discussing the agilities with my students in class. So we used the agilities assessment and that gave us some common language to discuss their strengths and then to use that information to set goals. So as Megan mentioned, or it was on the slide, students in the class also had a common read. They all read Atomic Habits by James Clear. And that book helps students to learn how to understand their habits, develop plans for improving new habits or breaking habits that they weren't so happy with. So I was able to combine the agilities with the language of habits so that they could establish goals, leverage their agilities in order to make progress towards both their educational and their career goals. So in the class, there were a couple of assignments that I'll talk about. We talked about agilities basically every week in our conversation. It was a very discussion-based course. I was lucky enough that it was small. We all got to know each other. Everyone knew everyone's name in that particular course. But we started the semester with a statement of purpose. And so all of the students wrote a paper introducing themselves, telling me who they were, what their goals were. And then I asked them to share what their top 3 agilities were and how they could activate those over the course of the semester to make progress towards their educational and career goals. Now, selfishly for me as an instructor, this was a really great way to get to know them. So that was nice. I was able to read that. It also helped them practice their writing skills. For a lot of them, this was the first college level paper that they'd ever written. I encouraged them to think about pulling this paper back out, actually about this time in the fall semester when they start applying for scholarships, because they now already have this sample piece of writing that they can use as a statement of purpose when they apply for continuing student scholarships. So we started the semester with that. So agilities, what bookend of things. And then at the end of the semester, we also wrap things up with conversations that incorporated the agilities. So students had a digital portfolio that they created, and that included a lot of resource management, navigating the cloud, but it also included a virtual video that they created. Again, a skill that all college students need, being able to communicate effectively, a public speaking exercise. And in that, I asked them to talk about the growth they experienced over the course of the semester, what their agilities were that they learned about when they first started the Summer Bridge program, how they activated those throughout the semester, and then most importantly, what are they going to do as they move into the fall to continue growing in that realm. So all in all, it was a really positive experience. I'm going to turn things back over to Megan in just a minute, but I want to read 2 quotes to you all from students that I've been able to keep in contact with this fall. I said, hey, remember that class we took this summer? Tell me what you thought about a couple of the assignments. And here are some great quotes that they shared with me. So this first one is from Taraya, and we'll hear from her again in just a moment when I turn things back to Megan. She says, the first paper that I had to write in Unit 100 was a personal statement paper. This paper was difficult at first because it's hard to talk about yourself sometimes, but being able to describe myself and talk about the different characteristics and traits that make me unique allowed my instructor to get to know me better. Being able to talk about my agilities gave me words to help my instructor know the way that I learn best. I was able to learn my agilities and describe how I use them in my everyday life to be more intentional about how I approach school and work. And the second one is from Sam, another great student, and they said, after completing University 100, I'm able to reflect on my agilities and my habits both. Now I realize that the more I do of one thing, the more that's the kind of person I believe myself to be. Realizing this helps me to be the best version of myself. All right, Megan, I'll turn it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Susie. So I will get back in here. And can we see my slides okay? Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Jada, and Jada is going to talk with you a little bit about 2 of the experiences we had towards the end of the semester. First, she'll talk about drawing your future with the agilities, and then she'll transition into talking about a networking opportunity we had. Take it away, Jada.
Hello, my name is Jada Pittman. I'm a music therapy major here at UMKC, and I've been working with the Debruce Foundation since the Summer Bridge program. I still work with them today, and it's really an honor. But first, I want to talk about the Draw Your Future map. I actually have mine right here. So this is what we did the last few weeks of the program. We went to the Debruce building because it's only a few minutes from campus. And first off, the building is really nice. Everyone there is welcoming. I love working with the Debruce Foundation. For the drawing, we actually work with Patty, who illustrated these, not these, but these up here, and she helped us take a second to just reflect about where we are now, and then also where we want to be in a year from now, maybe even 5 years. And though it may seem like, okay, we're drawing our goals down, what do we do with them? Having our agilities really helps with picturing where we want to be in the future. So when I took the profiler, my top 3 agilities were serving and caring, management, and developing others, which I feel is pretty fitting because I am a music therapy major, which takes a lot of caring and serving others. So I have my goals on here, and really writing them down and visualizing them, I feel like gets me more motivated, gets me more confident in my skills and my agilities and ways I can get to those goals. One of the things that I had for my future was a new stream of income. And by using my agility of management, I feel that this is a very achievable goal that I can achieve as soon as I'd like to. Just knowing my agilities, I feel like has helped me become confident with communicating my skills to others. And I feel like when you know your skills, you know what you're capable of doing. You put yourself out there more, you're able to network more efficiently, and people will really understand what you can do for them and how you can help them. So I feel like this was my favorite thing. I did like the networking, but I feel like this is my favorite thing because I hang this in my room just so I can stay motivated when times get a little hard, especially with finals week coming up. This is much needed. So and then the last week, actually the second to last week, we networked. So the first half, like I said, was drawing our pictures and our goals. And then the second half was getting to network. Because of COVID, I didn't network in person, at least for a long time. And it was a little scary before going into the building. But once I got into the building, everyone was so welcoming and it just made things really easy. And I gained a lot from this networking experience. I talked to so many different people from so many different walks of life. And I feel like it was really important to get this networking at this stage of my life as an incoming freshman because, you know, there's some uncertainty at times of what path I might want to take. And I feel like sometimes there's this negative stigmatism that not knowing where you want to go in life is bad. But talking to some of the people at the event, we got to hear what they thought that they were going to do versus what they actually did and how working with the Debruce has helped them. I know for me, that was very inspirational because sometimes I can get a little unsure about what I want to do. And just hearing someone so successful talk about their failures in life, it's very inspirational. Back to like the agilities, I don't remember the ones that were not my top 3, but during the event, we talked about some ways that we could develop the agilities that were at the bottom of our list. I know that for me, one of them was the inspecting one because I'm not that good with inspecting, but with the networking, talking to those people, it just allowed me to look at each agility and see where I can apply it into my life, even though it may not be the highest on my list. So I feel like that was the best part of the networking, was gaining the confidence, knowing where I can put these agilities. So I think that was the best part about it.
So we definitely believe that the agilities and working the agilities into our program brought our program up to another level. Our students were able to understand their strengths, their interests, how to leverage these things, and especially how to use these in a way that allows them to be academically successful, right? So these students that are admitted into Summer Bridge, again, are on the lower end of the GPA and ACT scale. So they need a little additional academic preparation. When you see this GPA of my scholars from this summer, knowing that they enrolled in a 5-week poli-sci class, in addition to a 1 credit hour course, and they were able to maintain a 3.45 GPA, with 78% of them achieving above a 3.0 GPA. In comparison, we did a full 8-week in-person program
in 2019 using very similar courses, and our GPA is clearly lower with that 2019 data. So the next piece I want to share with you is about the actual feedback from the scholars. And I'm going to ask, Jada, can you nod your head at me? You're one of the people I can see, if you can hear this okay.
The Debruce Foundation's Agilities benefited me in unexpected ways and had a large impact on my major. By taking the short questionnaire and talking to the Debruce Foundation, I was able to identify my strengths and weaknesses, some of which came as a surprise. By collaborating with the foundation, I learned more about myself and what career would suit me best. Without the foundation, I may have chosen a major that wouldn't fit me. However, it did show me what I needed to work on to better prepare myself for my future career. I really enjoyed meeting and working with the Debruce Foundation, and I think they are a wonderful source for everyone.
All right, so this is Sam. She was a Summer Bridge Scholar, just sharing a little bit about her impact that the Debruce Foundation and the Agilities had on her. So we'll move into Taraya, and Taraya has her statement as well.
Being able to connect with the Debruce Foundation has allowed me to understand myself completely. Learning about the different agilities allowed me to get to know myself a little bit better. I got the opportunity to learn my strengths and instincts, as well as some traits and agilities that I would love to work on and develop. I now know a lot of skills and traits that I have, and I'm able to apply them in my everyday life and my future career. I am glad I got the opportunity to get connected and experience the Debruce Foundation because it was a big help with learning and actually understanding yourself on a different level. Thank you, Taraya Taylor.
All right, and we have one more from Miss Kyra.
When I initially took the profiler in the beginning of summer, my top 3 agilities were organizing, managing, and judging and estimating. Now, after a few months and recently working at a job that requires customer service and spreadsheet analyzing, my new agilities are organizing, inspecting, and selling and communicating, as they have adapted over time with my skill sets changing. I will continue to use my agilities to help determine the activities and opportunities that I will excel in based off of these agilities, as well as identifying the other agilities I need to develop.
Okay, so today we obviously only had an hour with you, so we were only able to share the way that the Summer Bridge program has already started to integrate things into our program. We hope that you will consider integrating them into yours as well in whatever big or small way that might be. But I'm going to turn it back over to Anne at this point. Thank you so much for letting us share.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. And thank you for just corralling those wonderful comments from the students. We also, just by way of kind of closing this before we go into Q&A, we had the opportunity to chat a little bit more with Jada and Kyra and Khalil over the summer. And so I'm going to share this, their conversation around the agilities.
Hello, my name is Jada.
My name's Krulewich.
My name is Kyra, and I am a freshman at UMKC this year, and I am a business administration major with an emphasis in management. I think the biggest benefit of taking the agility profiler in college is, especially if you don't know what you want to go into or you don't know the skills that you're good at, I think it will really help you know that.
Before knowing my top 3 agilities, I was a little lost.
Oops, I'm sorry. I'm going to reshare this at the right screen. I think I shared the wrong one.
Just because I didn't know how to put my abilities to the best use. But once I took the test, it was really good because I got to be more confident and realize this is where I belong. Seeing different occupations on the list let me know that these 3 agilities I have are very versatile and I can apply them anywhere in my life, career, if I want to.
I feel like this is a period where a lot of people find themselves, they learn who they want to be, what they want to be, and just shape it into who they are. And I feel like I appreciate learning from the agilities that I like to help people and I want to pursue a career in that, and that I want to just make sure that everyone's happy in that career. I learned that I can communicate effectively, that I look for the problems within things, and that I'm always improving things, I have to speak up and I gained my voice.
Coming to the Debruce Foundation, when we did the vision board with Patty, that was really fun just because I think everybody thinks about their goals in life, but actually writing it down and drawing it, it really gets you excited to achieve those goals and stay motivated even when you have struggles.
And being able to see and recognize that these adults who are well into their careers are like looking at me and knowing that like she will get to where she wants to go. I feel like that's like boosted my confidence in myself as well. All of these different resources and opportunities that I've gained over the past couple of months have really just like skyrocketed my faith in myself that I will get there.
So I had to end on a super high note with those amazing students. And thank you for your patience with my presentation piece of that. But we would love to answer any questions that you have or just have a dialogue about maybe what some of you are doing with your programs currently, if you see a connection with the Agilities. So we'll just open it up for questions. So do you continue to keep in touch with the students after the summer bridge? So actually, Jada can talk to that a little bit about the Debruce Career Corps.
Okay, so I'm in the Debruce Career Corps, which is, I found out through networking in the Summer Bridge program with Debruce. I currently work with them and it's really fun. It's, we get to take the profiler and put in our input of what things could be different, what things we like, because as a student, you know, we're the ones taking it. And I feel like our voice is important and the Debruce Foundation really makes sure that it's known that our voice is important. So it's a really good feeling to have a say or an input of what you're taking, what you're interacting with.
And so the Career Corps is, it's not all of the students that we interacted with over the summer. It's a kind of a smaller group that really serves as a team of sort of youth voices working alongside us in some of our product development that Jada mentioned. You know, our intent is to have a connection. Anytime somebody takes the AWP, they automatically become part of our sort of family and get emails encouraging them to try different tools. But we're sort of in a space of they sort of have to opt in on that larger level of connecting with us through our newsletter and those types of things. But we do have other workshops throughout the year. We just did a wonderful virtual workshop around preparing for internships. And so, so there are other opportunities throughout the year that we would love to stay connected with students. Oh, so here's a great question from Megan. And your shift from the hybrid to in-person, just some of those learnings that you've had this summer.
Yeah, definitely. So what we learned was we were overscheduling our scholars that were already in jam-packed courses. And so when we did the 8-week coursework, they'd be in class and then they'd get out of class and they'd have to come to a note-taking workshop, and then they'd get out of the note-taking workshop and have to meet with their peer mentor. And they were like, Megan, this is not real life. Why are we doing this? And so what we ended up transitioning to was front-loading the academic skill building workshops, front-loading as much as we possibly could about getting prepared for exams, getting prepared for your syllabi. A lot of that was then reinforced in Susi's class that she taught, but we introduced it in the first 3 weeks to really let them know what they were about to walk into in those last 5 weeks. All students except for one, because of specific life situations, were able to transition from the online version into the in-person version of the program.
I'm actually just curious. We sometimes when we do these workshops, we try to build time in for people to take the Agile Work Profiler because we know people are just busy. I'm sort of curious. Thank you to Sarah for sending out a little bit of an introduction to this session. Were any of you able to, did you have time to take it beforehand? Just curious. You could just put a little reaction in your cell if you did. No judgment at all. But we do this little sort of test because it's our experience that and I do the same thing with these Zoom sessions that I'm on, that I'm sort of just in time. So I don't always do the pre-work. And so I'm thinking maybe that's our same situation here. So if that's the case and you haven't taken it, we will put the link in the chat because we would love to have you actually just take the AWP today or tomorrow and just get your impression on how you think it compares to other assessments you've done. Okay, so great question from Samaya, and it's good to see you, Samaya. We have worked in other worlds. So it is the same assessment tool. We have some extended versions that we have used with selected audiences when we are trying to get additional questions as part of maybe a pre and post testing scenario. But for the most part, the core piece of the Agile Work Profiler is the same.
So I guess the question that I had, so I'm in here taking it now, and some of the questions, I'm trying to put myself in an 18-year-old Samaya, right? And some of these are like, I don't know if I was competent about what I liked or what I think I was good at to really answer. So I was wondering, in terms of the outcomes data for those, how well are they tracking in terms of, further down the road when we say, these were my agilities that I was really great at, so then I sort of gravitated to those versus, and then these are the ones that I, sort of needed to work on. Do we see, so of course I'm going to be concerned about questions about, typically African-American students sort of being sort of averse to those maths, those sciences, those sort of are thinking that we're not good at those things. And then that sort of, an assessment now leads us away from those high STEM fields that we have been really trying to get our babies into. And just questions. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm so glad that you asked that question. And I would say, so we have probably over 35,000 people who have taken the Agile Work Profiler now across different age groups and demographics. And we're really interested in continuing to learn more about that. But the early findings on that is actually the fact that this is not something that really focuses you too far in on those things that you don't do well. And it's relative to yourself, right? So when you take it today, how you measure how well you do something or how much you like to do something, you can take it then again 6 months from now after you do something. We did find with some opportunity youth across the summertime who were 14 to 21 years old, that they actually took it prior to doing a paid internship. And what we learned is that they learned vocabulary by way of taking it. And then the internship, then when they came back to take it again at the end of their summer internship, they were like, oh, I didn't know what that was or that I like to do that, but now I really know that I like to do that. And so we're actually seeing that's part of the market research that's happened across the country, is this excitement around like feeling confident, and that it is different than some of those other assessments and surveys that may tend to say to you, well, okay, you're not good at that, so you just need to close that door and just not go there. And that's actually not what this is designed to do. It's actually designed to take care of and to do the very thing that you were talking about. And we had the honor with Mo Dude too, also to actually present at the Equity Summit that they had recently in terms of like virtual internships, our B-Ships initiative, and we tied that to this. So we're all about trying to, to address those obstacles. And so hopefully we'd love to work with you on even how to do that more and test even maybe deeper into that. I know we're beyond time, aren't we, Sarah? So thank you so much. We'll try to copy all of your questions out of the chat. It really was a privilege for us to be here on behalf of UMKC, our marvelous partners here in Kansas City, and on behalf of the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. We at Debruce are just really pleased. We hope that you'll join us for an Agilities tour to learn more. Go out to agilities.org and find ways for us to strategically partner with you all and continue to learn more from our friends at UMKC. Thank you so much. Sarah, does it go back to you?
It can, but you wrapped that up beautifully. So thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure having you all on today. And I am definitely going to look at that Agilities tool and all of the great resources you have. And also, as Anne said, she'll be sharing the slides and videos with you all. And then we'll also have this posted on our website. So make sure you share it with your friends that this was an awesome presentation. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.